island hopping along the Amalfi Coast, couscous in Palermo, and aperitivo in Turin. This week, we're in Italy.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel podcast for foodies. This week, it's the best of Italy with lemons on the Amalfi Coast, dried fruit in Sicily, and little plates in Turin. And as a bonus, non-Italy topic, I talk with TV's Joseph Rosendo about his latest project. But first, if you enjoy Destination Eat Drink, be sure to rate and review us on your podcast app. It's super easy to do, and it sure does help getting more people to know about the show. Thank you so very much. Everyone has Italy on their bucket list, so I thought we'd revisit some of my favorite conversations about one of the world's most popular destinations. Of course, there's tons of food and wine talk, as well as cocktails, and I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Kathy McCabe is the creator of Dream of Italy, the TV show on PBS, and the newsletter of the same name. She was also one of the first big-name guests to come onto the podcast, so I'll always be grateful to her for that. Hard to imagine that was nearly 5 years ago. I also hear that there's a new season of Dream of Italy in the works, so we'll keep you up to date when that happens. Kathy and I here talk about the Amalfi Coast and visiting some great wineries. Today's podcast is about the Amalfi Coast, and when you go to the Amalfi Coast, what's your favorite thing to do and your favorite thing to eat?
I have a dirty secret, and that's that I don't like seafood.
That's okay. I don't eat seafood either, and still I love going to Amalfi.
I like to eat anything with lemons. You know, the lemons there, they're gigantic. So not just limoncello, but, they make different pastas with lemon, desserts. And just anything with lemon is so delicious there. I love to be on the ocean, near the ocean. I love the little islands. I love Capri, but, and I actually am wearing right now, my mother has, there's a whole long story to it. She had a necklace with a bell that says Capri on it. And there's a legend that St. Michael had this bell so his sheep wouldn't get lost, so they would hear each other. And if you wear this bell, you're never alone. And so my mom had this for more than 50 years, this necklace. So I wear it now. And I'd like to go back and do a story about there's a particular jewelry store that sells these. Ischia is another island off of the Amalfi Coast. They have these great hot thermal springs. I went on a trip there actually maybe 20 years ago. And it was like going back in time, like the real Italian sort of beach vacation. I love the movie Il Postino. So I went to the third island in that group, which is Procida, not many people go to. And that's really cool. So the Amalfi Coast, it can get crowded, but I think you can find these other islands to go to, hiking, wineries. We did a story on Tenuta San Francesco winery in Tremonti, and it's one of the only vineyards that wasn't wiped out in the 18th or 19th century with phylloxera. So they actually, because of the volcanic soil, it was 19th century, the volcanic soil protected the vines. So you're actually having this really kind of rare wine experience.
These are original vines, because a lot of people don't know that the vines were wiped out in all of Europe from this disease, and the wine that you're drinking now is actually grafted root from probably North American stock.
I know. Can you believe it? It's crazy. Yeah. If you go to this vineyard in particular, you can have that experience, which is really unique. This fall, when I was on the Amalfi Coast, I was in Positano and also in Conca dei Marini, which I'll tell you about in a second. And I met a woman who runs a company called Swirl the Glass, and they do a lot of wine tours. So there's a lot of vineyards in here. And then my ancestral hometown's probably maybe an hour and a half, all in Irpinia, in Avellino. This is a really, really important and up-and-coming wine area. So you can even get off the coast and go in there. My friend Gaetano runs a company called the Wine Bus. So he takes people. I think there's a lot more to the Amalfi Coast than people think. One of my favorite hotels, you have to save up for a long time, but one of my favorite hotels in the whole world is called Monastero Santa Rosa. And it's in an old monastery where they invented sfogliatelle. And so if you're ever looking to break the bank, that's the place to go.
Marco Scappagini is the founder of Niche Italy, a tour company that takes visitors all over Italy for week-long vacations. He talks about the rivalry between Sicily and Naples and the food culture of Sicily.
First of all, for you to know that I'm from Naples, my wife is from Palermo, so we create the kingdom of the two Sicilies.
For people who don't know, if for a long time, Naples and Sicily were part of the same kingdom, the kingdom of two Sicilies.
Exactly.
And now you've created this in your household.
Exactly. So we have two kids, and for me it's very important that they support the Napoli soccer team. But I'm trying to do a little brainwash to them, but maybe it's too early now.
Keep working on it. You'll get there.
Yeah, and again, what I like about Palermo that really, when I decided to move to Palermo for love, but then also to put my Italian base for the tour, is because technically it's the town that reminds me Naples the most. The difference that in Naples we don't have a big heritage in the Arab culture. That instead of in Palermo you can find very deeply. From the market, from also the mentality. When we say Arab, usually we talk about like North Africa and or the southeast of the Mediterranean basin, because Sicily, Naples we had the domination, but mostly there were Spanish and French. In Sicily, everybody went to Sicily and would like to stay there because they were exactly at the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, so they can be in the best spot to control the trade, to control the military action, and that's why. And you know what? I noticed that in Sicily, who came after didn't destroy what the other population built before, so that's why you maybe move around 20 miles and you find, from the Greek temples, then you find the Spanish Baroque architecture, you go in Palermo and you have the Norman Arab architecture. So that's, so doing Palermo, but doing Sicily, I always say you save a lot of money because in one island, in 1 week, you do like you're doing a trip of the Mediterranean part of Europe.
You can see
in
it
a
all.
week. Yes.
You mentioned the Arabs. They brought so much to Sicily. They brought citrus to Sicily. They brought a lot of the nuts and the fruits to Sicily. What is some of the Arab influence in Sicily, and how does it show itself today in what we would eat when we go to Palermo?
Palermo and all the west coast of Sicily is the one with the major Arab domination and influence. So, as you said, the fruit, but especially the dry fruit. Imagine that right now we have a white wine that is called Zibibo. So this grape is a family of the Moscato grape, and it was brought by the Egyptian like over 600 years ago, and it was used for years only for doing the raisin for the couscous. Now they make a wine out of this grape, but and you have to think that the local farmers were using for make wine like 50 or 60 years ago was terrible. Was like amber color, very thick, sweet, and undrinkable.
Right.
But now it's wine of the finest aromatic wine that we do in Sicily. But again, raisin is a typical example of the Arab influence in the food, because the couscous is something that was coming clearly from Maghreb, from North Africa, or from Egypt, and it was introduced in Trapani first, so which is on the northwest corner of Sicily, and because Palermo, the name Palermo means Pan Ormus, so from the ancient Greek means all harbor. And till now, one of the strengths and the weaknesses of Palermo is that the the harbor side is taking most of the part of the seaside of Palermo. But in the past, it was very important because you can have a big economy coming also from the fishing activity. So what happened? The North African, they brought the couscous, but when you go to Maghreb, the couscous is always with lamb, with vegetables, so it's very hard to find the seafood couscous, which was kind of invented by the Sicilian, the Northwest Sicilian, because they had a lot of seafood coming in Palermo with a fishing boat, so they were using the couscous instead of the bread. When you have a seafood soup, even if you go to Tuscany, you have like the garlic bread in the bottom and the seafood soup on the top, like the bouillabaisse from France. That's a little bit what happens in Sicily, but they use the couscous. So that's
Okay.
just an example of this melting pot of a culture where the Arab influence is very, very important.
One of my absolute favorite things about Palermo is all the outdoor markets. Marco, talk about the different outdoor markets in Palermo and what are some of your favorite things to buy there?
First of all, yes, obviously Palermo and other town of Sicily like Syracuse that also has a very nice spice market in Ortigia.
Oh, yes, I love that market in Ortigia. It's one of my favorite places.
I know. And that one is an old spice market, because Syracuse was one of the oldest Greek harbor, and so all the merchants from the Eastern Mediterranean were going to Syracuse to trade the spices, and it's still like that. But we're going to talk about Syracuse maybe later. But coming back to Palermo,
yes,
the Palermo style is more like the souk in Morocco or in Tunisia, so the real Arab market. So what's the characteristic? We have three main markets in Palermo, so La Vucceria, Ballarò, and Il Capo. And they have three different characteristics. First of all, La Vucceria is the most historical one, and is probably the one that is more similar to a souk. Why? You know what Vucceria means?
No.
Vucceria is a direct word coming from vuciare, which means screaming in the Sicilian dialect. Because like in the Arab
it's so
souk,
true.
Yeah, all the vendors are screaming pesce fresco, which is a kind of song, but is the way to attract the customer to go there and buy. So that's very, very Arab. And the Vucceria now, it stays a little bit like a historical place, but is not the most active. You go to Vucceria a lot for the street food. They do the stigliole. When you go in the main square of Vucceria market, you see all these open air grill that are grilling these like skewers. They look like little kebab, but in the reality they are like the intestine of the veal But if you don't know it, you eat. Wow, it's super good, super sweet. So
guess what you just ate?
Yeah, exactly. And then Ballarò is in the like a real historical center of Palermo, but is the medieval market, Ballarò, and is more open during the weekend. We in Palermo we call the weekend market, and it's very famous for the fruit and vegetables, but also there are a lot of butcher shop. So people go there for buy the meat, especially in the weekends. And the last but not the least is Mercato del Capo. Mercato del Capo is actually my favorite because it's the one where I go to do the grocery. Is the one that is the most active, is the one where the Palermitans are going to do the grocery. So it's not like a place to visit, it's a place to go and buy. And that's where I usually take my people so that we can have a true experience. Capo means the head in Italian, but in this specific case is because it's on the top of a little hill in the center of Palermo. That's why it was called Il Capo.
Cecilia Puca runs I Eat food tours and events in Turin, one of my all-time favorite foodie cities, and she tells me why she thinks Turin is so special and the culture of the aperitivo. What makes Turin such a special place?
Oh, Brent, this is a very interesting question, and it requires an articulated answer. So, the Piedmontese cuisine is among the most varied and refined in our country. Piedmont is the second largest Italian region after Sicily, and it's also one of the most interesting for the territory, the history, the contacts with other cultures. Piedmont is a borderland leaning on France, surrounded by Western Alps, bordered by the Ligurian Apennines, and crossed by the Po River. It's a land of history, from the Romans to the Savoy, from Olivetti to Fiat. And, a huge plus value about Piedmont, in my opinion, is the fact that it's a land of contamination with its beautiful mountains. By the way, Piedmont means at the foot of the mountain. The very rich water resources from Lake Maggiore to Ticino, from Lake Orta to Tanaro, not to mention the gentle and wonderful hilly areas from the Langhe to Monferrato, which are UNESCO heritage, famous for the beautiful and gorgeous wines, such as Barolos and Barberas, among many others, but also well known for the precious truffles, especially the white ones from Alba. So, as you can easily understand, in such a huge scenario, the food and wine culture represent a fundamental value, a tradition, and a resource. So it is not a coincidence that the slow food movement was born here back in 1980 in the region that is first in Italy for chocolate production, which offers Alba truffles and exports some of the most famous wines in the world. And, it is really difficult in so much richness to single out just a few dishes that can be the symbols of the local culinary art. Let's say that Turin it's a capital of taste, from the most refined and aristocratic to the most authentic and very genuine. So it's what I call a city of many parts. And when we design our culinary experiences in Turin, the aim was to be able to let our food explorers be really embraced by a region, indeed, of many parts, where flavors and history, culture meet, create together a very special and charming recipe. Moreover, due to our different background, in fact, we both, as a founder and co-founder, me and Chef Abram, we are a sociologist and a life coach, and of course a certified foodie. And Abram is a professional chef with a Michelin stars background. So we do everything we can to offer to our guests an interesting, unique and creative way to discover our land. And we are really so much looking forward to welcoming the world to Italy and to Piedmont and, of course, to Turin.
The thing that I notice is, you go anywhere in Italy and you get an aperitivo and maybe you'll get like a little cup of potato chips or a little dish of olives. But in Turin, you can have very fancy aperitivo to go with your drink. In other words, some nice food spread set out for them. What kinds of things might we eat with our drink?
Yeah, well, let's say that in Italy, the modern aperitif was established at the end of the 18th century with the spread of vermouth. So vermouth was born in 1786 in Turin, when the herbalist Antonio Benedetto Carpano, in his nice workshop in the very center of the city, combined wine with an infusion of herbs and roots. Well, that was a huge success because he just sent his laboratory, his workshop was right in front to the Turin Palace. So he just sent some bottles to taste to the king. Well, it was a huge success due to the favor of King Vittorio Amedeo III. If you had the blessing of a king, your products for sure could become a huge success, because kings and queens were the best influencers, Brent, in the time.
Yes.
So if kings say this is a good product, well, then for sure you could score like crazy. So the vermouth is the most representative drink in Turin, and it's a very special and complex drink because of this very special combination of herbs and roots, very kind of magical recipes. There are some very, very sort of esoterical rules behind the recipe of a vermouth. So this fortified wine can really give you an amazing experience if you are a person who like to taste many ingredients. And with a good vermouth, you can really taste all the spiciness, the sweetness. It's a very complex and you have to be open for a vermouth experience, but it's something that it's very representative of Turin, and it's something that we love to share, especially when we run our Turin wine and dine experience. We start with the special selection of the best vermouth from Turin, for different to red vermouth and to white vermouth from different houses. And along with the vermouth, we in Turin, especially in Turin, we love to not just serving patatine, chips and olives, but so many different type of mini dishes. So if you are really joining a very beautiful, high quality aperitif, then you have some canapé and some delicious mini cold and warm dishes. So it becomes almost itself like a dinner.
Let's finish up this week with Joseph Rosendo. He was the host of Travel Scope on PBS for 12 seasons. He's also been on Destination Eat Drink twice. Now he's stepping out with a brand new show coming to public broadcasting later this year. Joseph Rosendo, I'm so excited to get to talk to you because I follow you on social media. I saw this post pop up that got me really Jones that you've got a new show coming out, Joseph Rosendo's Steppin' Out. And we're going to talk later in the year about that show, but I wanted you to come on and just talk about some of these new things that you're up to. So first of all, welcome to Destination Eat Drink. What's going on in Joseph Rosendo world?
Thank you very much, Brent. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I hope you're enjoying yourself in Portugal. What a wonderful country, and I'm sure you love being there.
For sure.
Yes. The newest thing is that people have been following me for the 15 years of Joseph Rosendo's Travel Scope at Joseph Rosendo and Joseph Rosendo's Travel Scope on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But now with the new show coming out, the end of this year, beginning of next year, Joseph Rosendo Stepping Out. I have a new company and a new site, and it's Joseph Rosendo Presents. And I certainly would love your listeners and your readers to head over there and start to follow me on Joseph Rosendo Presents on both Instagram and Facebook and on TikTok. Actually, I'm in with the young crowd over at TikTok and enjoying it over there as well.
Nice.
So yes, it would be wonderful if they could follow me there. I'm posting Travel Scope information in those sites as well, so they can stay up to date with Travel Scope, what shows are airing on Create and on PBS from the Travel Scope's library of 135 shows. But they can really start following me today, what I'm doing now, and the new things that are happening with Joseph Rosendo and with Joseph Rosendo Presents, what that means and what that all entails, and particularly the new new a new iteration of TravelScope, which is Joseph Rosendo stepping out, and it means exactly what it says. Joseph Rosendo is stepping out, and the show is called Joseph Rosendo Stepping Out. They're stepping out with me into new areas, new ways of looking at the world and that we live in, new ways of traveling, new ways of being who we are, and new ways of becoming the best that we can be.
I'm really excited about the new show, and I know we're going to talk about it in depth later on this year, but could you give me just a thumbnail? Maybe tell me some of the places that you go on this new show, Stepping Out, and just give us a brief little idea as to what viewers can expect.
Yeah, well, I always love to talk to you when I'm in the beginning of doing things, because you are always really good about keeping up to date and updating your listeners and your viewers of what's happening with the people that you've been interviewing. So I always love to talk to you at the beginning of things. Oh, by the way, in addition to Joseph Rosendo Presents on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, they can also go to the new website, which is simply josephrosendo.com. So it makes it real simple, josephrosendo.com. Some of the destinations that we're shooting for, we shot our pilot and first episode was shot in Cadiz, Spain, where we featured a 5 Michelin star chef. I mean, not the restaurant doesn't have 5 stars, but he has 5 stars. The restaurant called Miramar, very close to Cadiz in Yancha, is a 2-star Michelin chef. We featured him, and then in Cadiz itself, we featured a European champion, a crafts drink maker, and our inventor, and a very lovely guy at the Baoa restaurant and bar right there on the bay in Cadiz. In addition to that, in that show, we featured the art of Salvador Dali, because that was where Salvador Dali lived with his wife, and he lived there pretty much right till the end. And it's just a wonderful place to visit and spectacular location. But besides that show, we just came back from Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, a wonderful eye-opening experience for me. On the schedule is Bolivia. We also have we're going back to Ireland to do a river cruise, one of those La Boat, you drive it, cruise boats on
cool.
rivers. Yeah, we've done several shows with them. We did a show in Canada on the Rideau Canal, and we did a show in the Lot River in France, piloting La Boat vessels through the locks and all the experiences and all the little towns you meet along the way. We're going to be doing that on the Shannon and Erne rivers in Ireland. And that's going to be really exciting to be back on the boat again and experiencing Ireland again, which I absolutely, totally love. In addition to that, we have several other Asian destinations that are in the works. For sure, we're going to be, as I mentioned, heading back to Ireland, but we have the Bolivia show, but we have something in the works that's extremely interesting and in keeping with the new show, Stepping Out. I'm going to be stepping out and heading to base camp, Everest Base Camp, as one of the shows. I don't know if that's going to be an amazing experience personally, and that's really the gist of the show, is to be more personal and to reveal more of who Joseph Rosendo is, this host and director that people have known for 15 years. Let's find a little bit more about him and what he's like when he's put in these situations that are beyond his comfort zone in many ways. So that's going to be one of the highlights of the trip. We're also looking at Greece as one of our destinations. I was there before on a small cruise ship. It's a fabulous country. We'll probably spend most of our time in Athens and surrounding this time. Last time we were in the islands, but that's also in the works and planning to happen this summer, before we have the Bolivia trip. And the Everest trip will probably happen in October. I'll be in Ireland in September. And there's a couple of other destinations in the United States. I'm staying close to home. We have Tampa, Florida. I'm originally from Florida, and my family is from originally on my mother's side. Her family was from Tampa, by Cuba by way of Tampa, and then ultimately Miami, where I was born. And I'm going to be featuring Tampa in one of the big festivals they have there. And in the beginning of next year, we'll be shooting that, and it'll be part of this season, though. So, a lot of good things in the works, with some things here close to home, and then a little bit more exotic with Bolivia, the Himalayas, Ireland, always a wonderful destination. And we've got some other things planned for 8 shows for the first season, and then onward and upward from there. I'll add to the 135 shows that I have airing as part of TravelScope.
I'm totally jonesing for all these. All of these places are either places I've been or places I want to go. Maybe not the Himalayas. You can go and do that. I don't know.
Well, look, think of it in terms of Nepal. We're going to Nepal.
Okay.
So we'll be featuring Nepal, which is an amazing destination, as a matter of fact, and walking towards. And I say that very, walking towards base camp will be part of the experience, just because of all the wonderful people you meet along the way. Think of that. Think of the people we meet, the people that make these kinds of experiences possible for climbers, the climbers themselves, and the people who live in the villages that are along the way. I mean, that's really I'm not trying to climb Everest. And I'm not trying to kill myself by getting into 17,000 feet elevations, but I do want to be stepping out. I want to step out. I want to show my viewers that even no matter what your age, there are many ways that you can step out of your comfort zone or your cocoon, or of what you're used to, what you think of the stereotypes and the preconceived ideas you may have about a destination or an experience. And you can step out beyond that, and you can do it for the rest of your life. And that's really the message of Joseph Rosendo stepping out.
That's a great message. And I've always enjoyed that with you on TravelScope, is that you put yourself right in the center. Like, you just jump right in. And it sounds like you are being even more adventurous now. Looking forward to seeing the show when it airs on PBS. Until then, we will say adios, as we do in Portugal, and we'll look forward to talking to you again later this year about the show in more detail. Thank you for being here today, Joseph, to talk about your upcoming adventures on Steppin' Out.
I think I need to say obrigado, right?
Yeah, obrigado.
Obrigado is thank you, right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so obrigado and bom dia.
Até logo. Okay, there you go. Thanks to all my guests who were on the show, and you can get links to them in the show notes, as well as the full episodes with each of them at radiomisfits.com/DED240. Can't wait to get back to Italy. In fact, we'll be going there for the first time in a few years at the end of this month. I'll let you know how that goes. If you're planning a summer trip, I've got a ton of foodie travel guides to cities all over Italy. You can get those at destinationeatdrink.com. Just click on Italy. And while you're there, sign up for the Destination Eat Drink newsletter. And if you can, drop us a couple of bucks by clicking on the contribute button. I also just posted a story at Destination Eat Drink about a unique pastry from the Algarve region of Portugal called the Folhado de Lule. Read that at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. And there's a new video at Destination Eat Drink. It's about a town in Portugal that's a quick ferry ride from Lisbon. I do a food crawl and see some amazing sights in Almada. You can get that at destinationeatdrink.com. Just click on the video tab, or go to the YouTube channel at Destination Eat Drink 946. Well, that's it for this week. Next week, we are in Saigon. We'll see that fascinating city on 2 wheels and have some great dishes, too. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and a guy whose family was kicked out of Italy for adding scotch to the Sunday marinara, Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson. I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink. a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.